Sorry, guys. Hello, and we are live yet again. Hopefully, got all that stabilized. And welcome to my author's chat of the week. So, as usual, I'm just going to wait for my co-host before we can get right into it, and we'll be talking about books and writing. So, if you have any questions for us at any time, just message us during our talk. Let's see. That's my reminder saying you are live. And as I wait for her to get on, hello everyone. My starter question is always, what are you reading this week? I'm a very slow reader, so I am still working through American Gods, but don't take that as any effect on my interest in it. I actually am really enjoying it. I just am generally a very, very slow reader. Okay, hello, hello. Now we're getting... Yes, I know. Getting ready to get my co-host on, if possible. We shall see. But yep, I, this week, have been working on progressing all my audiobooks. So that's exciting for me. I'm, kind of talking to my various narrators for the different projects I have. And, yeah, so if you're an audiobook person, I'm going to have a number of stuff coming out in the next few months, hopefully, if all goes well. I'm trying to see if I see her. Fortunately, sometimes it takes a little than others. But yeah, so audiobooks, I have actually all three of my series right now are being converted at the moment. And I have one series where it's a male narrator, one series with a female, and one with a whole voiced cast. So I'm running the gamut. Hopefully getting, offering something that someone enjoys. Okay, let's see.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. How are you? I was trying to see you to invite you, but you got it.
I know when I first started going live on TikTok, I would get so stressed if I was planning to go live with someone else, because I'm like, what if I can't find them? And I'm just sitting here scrolling. So
It's fine. It's fine. I just feel bad with all the. I know there has to be a sound effect when I'm clicking my phone. I'm pretty sure there is. So it probably always sounds bad on everybody else's end because I'm always like tap, 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 tap. But welcome.
Thanks. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So how I kind of. Oh, sorry. What were you
My
saying?
kids are at school, so now this is my me time during the day.
Perfect. I love me time.
Right.
So how I usually do this, I don't know if you've ever seen any of these before, but what I usually do is have my co-host, you, talk about yourself, let us know what you write, etc., so on, because people will be joining in from both ends. Then I'll go and do my little spiel about being, what I write, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I am a romantic fantasy author. I debuted a year ago, almost to the day. So I really wanted to publish something before I turned 30. So I published my first series very quickly with the help of my team, thank God, because it never would have happened. But I actually decided to finally take the leap because of book talk. So that's why I like devoting so much time and energy. Oh, thanks, Taylor. She said happy 1 year. But that's why I give so much of my attention to book talk over other social media. Because this community inspired me to actually start writing. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, so my family has been really supportive, but I really like romantic fantasy. Enemies to lovers is my favorite thing in the world to write.
Very popular. Very, very popular.
Yes.
So what is the name of you said you published about almost a year ago, so happy book anniversary or bookversary. Yay! How have you published just one or do you have more out? And then what are the names of this book or books?
So, A Legacy of Darkness was my debut series. All 3 books are complete and out in the world. And then my second series is a fae fantasy, a romantic fae fantasy, and that's called Claiming Elfheim. So we have the first 2 books are out now, and the 3rd book comes out in December.
Whoa, you are a prolific writer then.
I tend to hyperfixate on things, so I go really fast.
I love it. I love it. Hey, that's what the readers want. They always want the next book right away. As soon as they're done, they're already like, we want the next one. So it's good to
Yes.
be able to like turn them fast. But do you have any copies of your books to show? I mean, to lift up? I know they'll be kind of reversed because that's all. I never figured that one out before. Ooh, I love that cover.
Heir of Shadows and Ice. So that's the first one in my Fae Fantasy, Claiming Elfane. And then this is the second one, Heir of Embers and Ash. And the third one, I'm waiting for the cover to come back. We're just fixing some details. But that one's going to be called Heir of Truth and Starlight. So I'm really excited.
That is exciting. Have you done like you said you're waiting for the cover to come back. So are you going to do like a cover reveal on this platform or anywhere? Yeah.
Yeah, this is usually the first place. Well, I send it to my email list first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
And then it comes up on Book Talk very shortly after, because I have trouble like keeping things to myself.
I know. I feel you.
You know, you try like as a in like the self-pub world, you try to like come up with a nice timeline of things and like, you know, your launch plan and things like that. And I'm like, no, as soon as it's in my hands, I want to show everyone.
Yes. No, I'm very bad about that too, because I'm impatient. I would like my books to be out in the world, and it probably does help a lot to kind of build the excitement before release. But yeah, it's really hard for me to kind of wait. Impatient.
Yeah. Allie asked when book 3 comes out. It comes out the second week of December.
Perfect. And yeah, I was going to say, if you see any comments on your end that pop up, feel free to read them out or whatnot, because I'll repurpose this next week or something like that on my YouTube channel. And so they won't see the comments. So you can always do that and do some shout outs. But as for me, I'll just do my little quick introduction. My name is Katharine Wibell. I'm an author of different epic fantasy series that range in different ages. I will do my little spiel. We tilted a little bit that way. Beautiful. Okay, so my first series I'm going to talk about is my young adult. It's a portal fantasy, adventure fantasy, noble bright. Those are some of these kind of fun little taglines. Essentially, it's set in a magical multiverse with 12 worlds that host magic. And it does deal a lot with the chosen one archetype, but it's just a pretty kind of fun free-for-all where whatever mythological beast being you like, it's probably in this book series somewhere. Yes. But I have the first 2 out right now, and it starts with the 12 tasks. And actually, talking about cover reveals, the third one I'm about to reveal in the next couple of weeks, so I'm very excited about that one. And I have been sitting on it. I'm like, I'm going to do it justice.
I was going to ask how long you had it.
Well, we're going to try theoretically. And then my actual debut series that I did is a new adult, I would say, just because it's a little grittier. It's a war-based shifter fantasy, and there are 4 books out on that one. And it's called the Incarn Saga. It starts with the Sara's Claws, the blue cover in the back. And that one's set in a kingdom on the verge of war, where both the humans and the shapeshifters have to decide if they can push past their differences to unite to help defend themselves from this greater threat. So that's my little tagline for that. And then my third series is a little closer to a rapid release. It's for adults. It's a Viking-based mythology. So Norse mythology, dark retelling of that kind of thing. And they're really dark covers, so I can't really see them well in this thing. But there are right now 7 out, and the 8th will hopefully be released before the end of the year. But they're a lot of fun. And again, if you like Vikings, Norse mythology, and all that, you probably enjoy that series. But that's what I write. So, yay.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did notice, because I was looking at your book descriptions and stuff the other day, and you use a lot of mythology and like your own world building too. Yeah. So I really like that, because that's like one of my favorite parts of writing is like taking like the classic mythology that you read about, like Fae folklore, Celtic folklore, and then like making it my own version.
So let me go ask, your series are 2 series now. I'm assuming then you're saying you do use Celtic and Fae kind of lore in yours, or what kind of fantasy elements do you have in your books?
Well, A Legacy of Darkness, I built the world from scratch. So I did
Fantastic.
use, though, a lot of like Celtic, like you'll see creatures that you might recognize, but kind of morphed into something else that I
Hey, that's fun.
preferred, like a
Your twist on
Fenrir, but
them.
I made him more of like a hellhound type of
Oh
creature
yeah.
companion.
Hmm.
And then Claiming Elfheim does take place in like fairy. So that
Okay.
one I
Yeah.
followed a little more closely to like the established rules of Fae folklore. Whereas the
Uh-huh.
Legacy of Darkness, I just did whatever I wanted. There were like no limits.
So I have a comment that just popped up because someone must have jumped in and missed your earlier introduction. Can you name both your series?
I have Claiming Elfheim and A Legacy of Darkness, two separate series, two different worlds. Book 3 of Claiming Elfheim will come out this year, so the series will be completed, and then on
So
to the
you
next.
like that trilogy kind of thing.
Because I get bored. I'm like I love the worlds that I make, but by book 3, I'm like, let's wrap it up. Let's move on to the next story, the next characters. Like I already have another book that I'm getting started to come after book 3 of Claiming Elfheim, and I'm just like, I'm ready to.
Oh, no, I understand. I'm definitely a person that one of the questions I get asked a lot is how do I deal with writer's block? Well, the funny thing, I have to let people know at this moment I've never dealt with writer's block. I have the opposite problem where I have too many stories that always are, in my ear trying to say me next, me next. And so the fact that I also am a series writer, I guess it kind of inspires me to try to push myself to write even faster because I don't necessarily do short series, but I have so many other series and so many other books that I want to
Yeah.
share. I just know right now I'm releasing 2 simultaneously. I've maxed out. No more. I have to finish one before I start a new project.
Yeah. And for me, like I could, work on a series. I could plan a 6-book series and after 3 books do another project and then go back to that series, but I don't like leaving my readers
Hmm.
hanging, I guess, because I don't do like huge cliffhangers, but I do leave you after each book. You're like, wait, okay. Like it feels a little bit like you're hanging. So I never want to make
I love cliffhangers.
you do. So I never want to make anyone wait too long.
Oh, okay, I understand, and it does amaze me because there are authors who have figured out a method of putting out multiple series and kind of releasing, maybe one of each book in a year, but they know their pace, they know their size, they know
Yeah.
and so I guess they keep their readership from drifting off, which is
Yeah.
the biggest worry is, will you lose readers in the between time? And that's why some people put out books real fast and then other people take time. And that is a risk. So I don't know, I see it from the reader perspective where it's, yes, I want more right away. On the other hand, on the writer's side, it's just like, whoa, give me a moment, let me do these books justice.
Yeah. Allie did ask, she asked if I had signed copies on my site. I do. I offer signed copies and like book goodies. I don't know if you do as well.
What I do is I actually you can find it on my website in the links in my bio. But what I do is actually send people to Etsy and I use that as my distribution for signed copies. But I do have signed copies of all my print versions. Not all my books are in print just because my Viking series is a novella series and I like thick books. So I bundle them in groups of 4. So I have one group of 4 in print and then banking that volume 8 releases at the end of the year. At the beginning of next year, I'll release the next 4 in a print version and go that way just because I feel like I like meatier books. It looks nicer on a bookshelf. But yeah, I do offer signed copies through Etsy.
I have a novel, like not even a novella, like it's like a novella. It's like less than 10,000 words. And I offer it on my email, like as a reader magnet. So you get it for free when you subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the cover. So I had to put it in print. I was like, I'm just doing it. So like I just bought it for myself. So I could like have it at
Fantastic.
the house. I don't know where it went. It's like really tiny. It's thin.
It's there, you just don't see it. No, I think that's funny.
Where I put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, well, I'm gonna come back to that moment. I do have a comment popped up, says, keep up the good work. Yay, thank you for both of us. So yay. But yeah, no, it was one of those things that took me a long time to figure out. Sorry about that little timer pop up. Figure out that a smart way to approach, newsletters is to offer those kind of little freebies. I don't know why it took me so long, but it did. And so have a couple, like, yours is larger than mine. I have a couple short stories and I offer like samples of like the first few chapters, just for people to get a taste of my work if they're signing up, so they can decide, yes, that's a series they like, or maybe not, because I do have a wide ranging, within epic fantasy, I'll omit that, but a wide ranging age range, and from the funner, more fun fantasy to the gritty or stuff down there. But so that is cool. So what is your novelette about? Is it in one of your worlds? Is it totally separate?
The Princess of Sagan goes with a Legacy of Darkness, but it can be read like, I made it so it could be by itself, but you see some of my side characters from the series. So some of her old friends from like before she went on this epic quest, you see them pop in and you get to meet them like before they even met her. So it follows like these smugglers and they have to go on this rescue mission to save the Princess of Sagan. And they're just kind of like a ragtag crew. So they were a lot of fun for me to write.
I love that.
It was a nice little like break too from like the more serious stuff in the book. I think I wrote it between book 2 and 3, where things were really getting like dark for our heroes. So it was nice to take a little break and just write about like a bunch of drunk pirate type characters trying to get it together.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. No, yeah. I had a question. Question. Yes. So you were talking a little bit earlier on about world building, and I know a lot of people in the fantasy genres, because there's plenty of them, incorporate maps. Do you have a map in one of your books? Did you make it yourself, or do you get someone else? Like, what was your map making process?
So Legacy of Darkness, I had someone that I met on Book Talk make it, but then I decided I wanted to start making my own. So I've been dabbling, and I definitely could get better. You know what I mean? But I'm having so much fun making them. Like I keep anytime I procrastinate from like actual author work, I'm doing like making maps on my little pocket Procreate on my phone, or like trying to make my own character art. It doesn't go well. The maps are much easier. So yeah, I did the map for Claiming Elfheim. I like hand drew it first and watercolored it. I like to craft.
Aww,
and then I went back and did it digitally so it would show up, well in the book.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, my first series I made a map for and I hand drew it and then tried to figure out how to take that and get it into the book was the trick, because I also made it like, a huge size and I was trying to shrink it down, and that was a whole process. Yeah. So that one, but it made sense because that particular series, my Shifter series, was in and around one kingdom. So it wasn't like I was drawing worlds and everything. But unfortunately for my other series, because they all deal with multiple worlds, I decided I'm just not going to deal with a map on those series. Maybe down the line someone will talk me into it, but right now it's just like, that's so complicated when you're dealing with more than one planet.
Yeah, that would definitely be hard. I mean, you probably could find someone creative enough to figure out how to make that work, but
good luck.
It'd be a big project. Yeah.
So for your character art, because you mentioned you were starting to do your own character art, is that something you give? Who do you give that to? Is that for like book signings? Is that for signed copies? Is that just because if a fan asked, you're like, here you go? Like, what is the character? Who gets the character art for you?
I mean, right now, for because so my books are new adult.
Mm-hmm.
And with like, you see like character art for ACOTAR and Crescent
Mm-hmm.
City and like all these amazing books. And I get so jealous. So part of me is like, I just want it for me so I can see my characters come to life. But I do like to give out like little gifts with my signed copies on my Square website. So like I did this one for bookmarks, and like it's not real art, but it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm like, silhouettes are easy. I could at least do that. So I like to do it to put on like swag and stuff, I guess.
Love that.
Because and like to buy commercial art, which I would rather do from some of the really incredible artists that I see on like TikTok and Bookstagram. But it's pricey with good reason because it's a lot of work. I've tried it myself, I know. But when you're funding your own books and marketing and everything, you really have to be picky about where those, your funds are going.
Yeah. Yeah, because writing a book is not a cheap process. But yeah, I definitely understand about that with character art, because I just started kind of querying some character artists and trying to decide, how many do I do one for all my series? Do I just start with one? Because the price adds up. The price does add up. But it would be really cool, like you said, just to have it and, for you, but, for your fans and as little gifts or thank you notes or whatnot. But yeah, writing is not, it's one of those things that people are very surprised. They're like, well, it's a cheap, I'm like, no. I can like the list of like all the expenses that some of them are maybe a little more obvious, like the editing and covers, to the stuff that people may forget or not realize, like ISBN and,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. They add up.
Yeah. And there are like, I do know of a lot of ways to cut those costs down. Certain things you can scrimp on, some things you cannot. But yeah, with like the character art, for me, I was like, I wanted it so bad. So I was thinking maybe I can learn how to do it myself. I spent like $5 on Pocket Procreate, and that's much cheaper than $150. But it's not going as well as I hoped. So
and that goes into why it's valued the way it's valued. So everybody has to just decide, what they want out of it and decide what they can afford to put into it and find that kind of balance. But yeah, I understand, because there, like you said, there are ways you could cut corners, and there are ways, you could go down level up as you go. For instance, I think people should invest money into the cover, because that's one of the biggest things that's going to lure people right off the bat. Yeah. But with that said, if you end up with a cover that you don't like and you're an indie author, it's relatively easy to then have it redone and improved upon later on when you maybe are able to afford, that next level up. But I love your covers. They're very attractive. So where did you... Oh, sorry, yes, go.
My covers were not expensive, actually. I use a company called Get Covers. They're based out of Ukraine. And it depends on what you add on, because I do both KDP and Ingram Spark, and I do full wraps and things like that. So I don't know. I think it was probably $40 to $60 per cover.
That is very affordable. That is very affordable.
I recommend.
I know, because I've done the whole gamut. I've had some that are very affordable, and I've had some that are worth every penny, but they aren't that price.
Yeah, and there are cover artists where I'm like, God, I love them. Like, I'm such a fan. But like you said, you can always go back later and give your book a makeover, on the outside. So I thought, for now, this is what I can afford, especially with my very first book. I'm like, I'm not making any money yet. So we'll see. But then by the time I got to my second series, I'm like, I love working with this company so much. Their customer service is so good. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep using them while I can, as long as they're capable of doing like what I have envisioned. So I love them.
Now let me ask, because I'm exclusively through Amazon for all the formats at the moment. And it took me, I'm always the last one to know. It took me forever to realize when I'm exclusive through Amazon for like the purpose of getting the KDP perks, or Kindle Unlimited perks, that I can still have my print versions come wide, which I
Yeah.
don't know why. It just took me so long to figure that one out.
A
So
lot of
I've
people think.
yeah. And so I'm trying to figure out, should I go and, expand into Ingram for my print versions? But I've heard also recently, maybe things have changed, or maybe this is the way it's always been, but some authors trying to get their stuff up and running on Ingram have been having a lot of problems. It's been like very complicated. So you having worked now both, what do you feel like? How hard was it to like establish yourself on Ingram and get things up and running? Because I heard that that's a lot more complicated.
Okay, no, I think Ingram is very straightforward and easy to use because they distribute like store wide. So any bookstore can access your books. So when you upload to Ingram Spark, which you do have to pay for, it's like $45 to upload. But I'm also a member of Ally, the Alliance of Independent Authors. So
I knew that name.
Yeah. Yeah. So I forget what their membership cost is, but for me, since I publish like multiple books a year, it made sense to go with them because then you get to upload your books for free on Ingram Spark.
Oh, very nice.
So there's another way of me cutting down that cost. But getting it uploaded to Ingram is like, the challenge is sometimes with their files. Like I'm having trouble right now because they're not accepting the font that I wanted to use.
Okay, gotcha.
But if you are like savvy enough to navigate that sort of thing, like
embedding fonts and stuff like that.
Yes, like if you can use Adobe and stuff like that, then it should be easy enough for you. Because once it's uploaded, once they've accepted the files and everything, they just like dish it out to everybody. You don't have to do anything after that.
Fantastic.
So like all of my books automatically went to Barnes and Noble's website. I did have to go in person to speak with Barnes and Noble, like my local one, to try and get the books into the store, which worked out because they order right from Ingram. And so I think it was worth it, but it was important to me. I wanted to be at least in local bookstores because I wanted to like go out and talk to people and do like book signings with them. So making like connections in the community was really important to me. So that's why I went with Ingram Spark as well.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I've been kind of like listening and picking people's brains who are on that side, because again, that's so foreign to me, and it's one of those things I have to value time, money, effort, energy. What are you going to get back? And so I think I want to maybe start attempting that move next year, but
yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I'm like so hesitant, but I'm hesitant about like always starting something new. It took me forever to jump on this platform, so it takes a while for me to like add something on to my normal schedule. And talking about schedules, so here's a fun question, are you a morning writer, night writer, an evening writer, whenever you can write? Because there are all kind of people out there.
Yeah, I mostly write at night. That's when I get the majority of my work done. Like I put the kids to bed from like 8 to 11. Sometimes later I'm writing. I'm like sprinting. But I do write like in the little pockets of my day because I am a stay-at-home mom. So, and my youngest is in like half day pre-K. So I'm still momming during the day, most of the day. So I'm writing like in my notes on my phone, like scenes as I'm driving the kids to school and stuff like that. So I write whenever I get the chance, but when I really need to like focus or do like edits or anything like that, it's nighttime.
Okay, it makes sense. I feel like the more mom writers that I talk to, they're definitely list to the night because of some of those facts that you just said. It's just easier for them to get downtime and quiet time for you to concentrate. I don't know about you, but I need to be in that zone. It has to be perfectly quiet at the house. I can't have any background distractions or else I lose that focus. And I really want that focus when I'm doing my writing sprints.
Yeah. So do you write at night or are you all day?
I'm on the flip side. I just think my brain works better in the morning. I'm definitely a morning person. I always have been. And so I do a couple like social stuff right off the bat, just to check and all that kind of stuff and start the day off. But yeah, I try to keep my mornings predominantly writing new material, and that leaves the afternoons. Since I work at the moment, crossing fingers, I can maintain this as a full-time author and artist. So I do have that luxury to use the morning to write, and then the afternoon to do the editing or formatting or social media, all that other fun stuff, advertising that authors have to do. That's a big list.
I know. And that's like my dream schedule is to be able to do that. And like next year, my kids will both be in school full time, so that will be possible because I'll still be staying home. So, because I would love to have like both the kids off to school, and then I can sit down and write, and then later in the day work on the stuff that I really, or maybe flip side, maybe I would have to get the stuff done first that I really don't want to do, so then I can write. Emily said she's so envious of morning people.
Oh. You say that, but then it's like the nighttime hits when everybody's trying to have fun. It's like, no, I just want to nap. I want to go to bed. No, I think that was the way I was raised. I was that person where my bedroom when I was growing up didn't really have blinds. So the sun came up, I woke up, and that was my day. And my fiance and I right now, he's that blackout curtain person, and he's not a morning person. I just think it's how your body wired or brain is. Just like, for me, it's like mornings. You got to get up, got to get to work, got to hit it hard, and then you can relax.
Yeah.
Theoretically speaking.
Well, it's not until I have my coffee. Like nothing is happening.
Absolutely. Coffee is essential.
Kate said both my kids are in school all day and I still don't get anything done.
It happens. There's always those distractors, or always the little things that pop up in life.
Yeah. My problem is like, because I'm a night writer, so like once the kids are in bed, part of me really wants to just like shut it all off and binge watch like the Game of Thrones or something. Like I don't want to do anything. So I do have to, but once I'm in this seat, like once I'm in front of the computer, then it's easy to tune into like writing. But if I'm easily distracted.
Yep.
My husband's like, come watch this.
I understand, but I think that's the important thing for anybody who's trying to get into writing and the writing rhythm, is to understand that you may have to test things out, and figure out what works. But then, when you do, repeat that process every time, be it, shut the door, have your private space, have your cup of coffee, or, put on your music. If you listen to music, I cannot listen to anything at the same time, but whatever it is to get you in that mode, and that will help you kind of get that spark going each time.
Yeah. See, I have to have a little bit of sound. If it's too quiet, I don't know why. I need like background noise, but stuff that I'm not going to pay attention to. So I've been like, I have Gilmore Girls playing while I write.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if you did like a playlist or, okay, Gilmore. There you go.
No, it's so random because like my books are not warm and they're not cozy fantasies. Like we've got like war and like bad stuff going down. Meanwhile, I'm listening to Gilmore Girls.
Like, if it's tried and true. No, for me, it's like, if I'm not writing anything new and I'm doing some of these other projects, depending on the project, obviously, I can actually, I'll put something just like you said, the background, and that's how I get a lot of my binging done, is I'll have like something on TV in the background as I am working on ads, or, answering things on social media, or, doing some base level edits. But no, I don't mind at that point. But writing, for me, it has to be quiet. And people are like, why, you're a writer, don't go work at a coffee shop. I'm like, no, I will get nothing done. Zero. I can't do that. Too much distraction.
Oh, that's funny. Kate and Emily said they both write to Gilmore Girls too.
See, there you go. I feel like you should have a writing group. You should have we'll call it the Gilmore group, and it'll be a group of writers who you start the season.
Gilmore Girls.
You start the season at the same time and see. That's fantastic.
So she does love coffee shop writing, and I do too. But I don't go to like super busy coffee shops like Starbucks. I go to my local ones, and I know when it's safe to go and write there, like when they have a little bit of a lull in the day. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going in during like the morning or lunch rush. I'm like,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back to your writing style, and because as you're saying, you're fantasy romance, and so there are a couple questions I have now that I've talked to a few fantasy romance authors. One is, is the couple that you're focusing on book one the same couple in each book, or do you switch couples, the main couple in each book? Because I've heard it both ways. Typically, it sounds like the trend is different couples, but somehow interconnected in the same world, but not necessarily. So how about you?
Yeah, for the two series that I have out now, it is one couple throughout, and like their couple's journey, especially because it's enemies to lovers, like forced proximity, or like they're forced to work with each other. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of it's like a slow burn.
Okay. Yeah.
But I would like to do like a Bridgerton style fantasy series where it's like same world, like they all know each other, but like focusing on a different love story each one. I think that would be really fun, and I think it would cure my 3-book halt. You know what I mean? I think it could do like a 6-book series if it was changing things up in each one.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering because I've heard it both ways, but it does sound like a lot of romance or fantasy romance like to switch up new couple, but it always does interest me if someone can bring that romantic element for a longer term throughout. But then again, I'm a long fantasy reader and writer, so that interests me a little bit more than the hit it and quit it approach.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do, because like the first... I follow, so I use Romancing the Beat. I forget who wrote the book. I have it somewhere around here. But it kind of follows the Save the Cat, like 3-act approach. Mm-hmm. But she shows you like the romance side of it for each of those beats. So that kind of helps me be able to like draw it out longer, because I can see, like if I'm writing a series and I've got my 3-act structure, I'm like, okay, then we need to have like this part of the romance here, some like push and pull here, misunderstanding here type of thing. So it makes it a little easier to keep it going.
That's cool. So here's another question, again, going on the comparisons of different authors in your subgenre, is, do you write with following one point of view, like one character's point of view, or do you jump heads in within the book and have like his side, her side, someone else's side? Like, how do you tell your story?
My first series, Legacy of Darkness, is dual POV, so it's his and hers. My second series is only from Kalera's perspective, so so that one's single, and I'm thinking my next one might be a dual POV. It just kind of depends on the story, like how I feel like it needs to be told. So
yeah, I
haven't chosen one. Are yours dual POV or?
No, and that's the thing is I've been debating. I have I know I have a book that if I get to write, it'll be a standalone and it'll be a multiple POV. And it would kind of challenge me to do both the concept of a standalone as well as kind of get outside of just one head. But no, all my series right now are from just the most main character, and you follow. And so the limitations, obviously, of that kind of style writing is if she doesn't know it, or informed about it, it's going to be really hard for the reader to know it. So it does limit you on like some of that more TV series style writing where, your main character misses something, but the viewers know. And so it might be fun to kind of get into a little POV where someone knows something and someone else doesn't, and the readers know it all.
Yes. Yeah. And, like, I guess for me, I do struggle. Like, this is what I've had to really work on, like, growth wise as a writer, is like getting into my character's head and staying there, because I'm very much like talk as a narrator outside of their head. So with dual POV, I do need to watch myself and make sure I'm switching myself into those characters as I'm writing the book, and not just being like the same narrator from the last chapter, her point of view. So like my critique group, I work with a really awesome group of girls who have been like with me since the beginning of my journey. So they've really helped with that. They're like, okay, you're going a little bit outside of his character. Like circle back. So that's like been really helpful, because duel's hard to write.
Yeah, I keep saying that sounds really hard and making myself feel intimidated by that process. On the other hand, releasing two totally different series at the same time, I am head jumping. It's just separate books, and that's the thing, is like when I'm editing, I have to make sure, wait, no, let me put the right main character's name and not the other one from the other series. I am head jumping when I'm working on these projects, quote unquote, simultaneously, but not exactly the same. Two totally different projects. So that's interesting. But you work with a critique group, which I've worked with a writing group in the past, but currently I don't work with one at the moment. But let me ask, I guess, a couple things. One, how is the process of working with a critique group for people who may stumble upon this and want to know? And do you also use an editor, or do you just use your critique group as kind of like your editing process? Sorry, that was two questions in one.
I actually found my critique group through Facebook. I'm in a ton of like fantasy writers groups, moms who write, like a ton of Facebook communities. So I found Emily Fluke that way, and then it's a smaller group, so I liked that because there's like 6 of us, I think. So you can really get to know each other's like writing. You know what I mean? So having someone that's like so familiar with your style and who knows kind of what you struggle with, like they know what I need to improve on, and it's sometimes hard to hear. Just like if you use beta readers or an editor, you're like, sometimes it kind of stings. But I really trust them, and I think that anyone who asks me for like advice when they're getting started, like in this industry, I tell them to find a critique group, or at least a critique partner, someone that you trust is going to tell you the truth, but in a constructive way that's going to like make you grow.
Constructive criticism. I love that.
Yes. So I do have beta readers outside of my critique group, but our group, the way it's set up, we like share pieces each week. We rotate. So like 3 people will share something and we'll critique it. But then we do a beta read once a month. So that's been really helpful to me, to have them. They're basically like my developmental editors.
Oh, I love that. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I don't have to pay for any of the like storyline structure editing or anything like that. It's been super helpful.
That's absolutely great. Yeah, no, my structure is, currently is, I do the beta readers, and then I go back and forth between them for a little bit, and then go into the editing, or my editor, and then kind of work on that and do a polished read or 2 before release. So I do, I guess, a little more old school group approach, but yeah, no, I love the time working with my writing group, especially when I was starting off and kind of learning from people who are all different ages and stages and parts of their careers. Some, writing for the pleasure of it, others who are very, very professional about it. And it was just, nice to be able to have different point of views. But I love, when hearing that people work together in these kind of cooperative groups.
Well, it also helps because we are all in the fantasy genre and not necessarily like the same subgenre. But so they know what to look for. They're like, well, in most like romantic fantasy that I've seen, this goes this way, or like talking about like character arcs and stuff. They just have a lot of insight specific to what I'm working on, if that makes sense. So I feel like it's a lot more beneficial than finding like I love my beta readers, but some of them are like don't usually read this genre. They were just like friends that I turned to. I knew they read, but they don't love fantasy. So they were helpful, but not in the same way as someone who like lives and breathes writing and reading fantasy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's another good point, that there are so many different kind of critique groups and writing groups out there, and you just have to choose if you want one very niched into your work, which is very, great, especially, if you have issues or potentially, have like hiccups or something that pertains to your niche, or if you want to go broad and have someone look, through fresh eyes and say, hey, if someone picks up your book, they may not understand this. Fantasy readers might, but people who are just trying it out for their first time might have no clue. You might want to explain a little better. So there's pros and cons on both, but it's always good, and find what you want. Find what works for you.
Yeah.
So you're wide. What other platforms are you on social media wise that people can come and follow you on and get to know you more?
I spend all my time here. I do have a Facebook readers group, Sword and Quill. All of it's in my bio and all that. But I do like to spend some time in that group. Mostly it's me sharing memes that I think are hilarious that like my friends and family wouldn't understand because they're not avid readers. So I'm also on Instagram, which I'm still trying to navigate. A Bookstagram is
that well. Yeah.
I just try and post things once in a while, share if I go to events. I do have my newsletter, which get like first access to my ARCs and things like that. And then I have a podcast for moms who read and write fantasy with Emily Fluke. It's called Moms, Books, and Magic. So it's very niche, but we have a lot of fun on there. So we do have like a Facebook group for the podcast as well. If anyone needs to like vent about trying to write with children or trying to find the time to read with kids.
Yeah, I'm not in that stage of my life yet, but it is still entertaining being an outsider looking in of some of that humor of different authors, and especially on this platform when moms are coming on and they're just like, make a spiel or trying to talk to you, and you have the little kid coming up and they're like, case in point.
Yes. Yeah, well, the most horrifying thing for me was when I came out with my first series. I do write with a little like medium spice, so it's not like it's not smutty or anything. But
someone told me it was like, what did they call it? The closed door spice, where you get a little heat, but you don't really show anything.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Claiming Elfheim, there is on page.
Oh.
But in A Legacy of Darkness, it was closed door for the most part. So, but for me, that was like, it was my first time like sending books out into the world. So I was nervous thinking about like friends and family reading it and stuff. And then my son's preschool teachers, all three of them were like, we just ordered your book. And I was like, oh my God. All the teachers, and they were telling everyone in the school. So the speech teacher was like coming up to me and she's like, oh yeah, I want to get your book. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I was worried about the wrong people. Now all the elementary school teachers are reading the spice that I'm writing while my kids are with them.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess that's part of it. If you're doing the spicier side, or even just maybe mild spice, lukewarm spice, whatever. But that is that feel about it, and that's one of the things is like my new adult series is new adult more because of the grit, not because of any spice in it.
Yeah.
But I was also younger in life and wasn't really comfortable with trying to write that kind of stuff, and my young adult's not going to have that just because it's going to stay clean fantasy. But
Yeah.
my adult novellas, even though romance, I don't say they're romance fantasy, there is romance in it because life happens, people fall in love, people
Yeah.
are interested in each other, people are all this kind of stuff. And so I will have down the line a couple on page scenes, but it's not like the focus of the story. The story is all this other stuff, but it's
Yeah.
on there, and that's why I cater that's an adult series.
Yep.
And the day when my my parents read that, you're gonna get that little how did you like the book?
Yeah. Please tell me you skipped that page.
But no, it's something I guess every author, if you choose to go that route, has to get over that little hump because part of life. So I have another question. Actually, going back to your book covers, so I keep looking at them because they're so bright and they just pop. Why did you choose a crown for your, I guess the emblem on your cover?
Without giving spoilers.
Yes. It's gonna spoil, you don't have to tell me.
I'll say it's very much, there's a lot of like royal court intrigue. So the series, when you enter the first book, Clara, she's half fae, half mortal, but she has no memory of like ever being in Elfheim. So when her best friend is taken from the mortal court, she gets thrown into the mix. She has to go back and try and save her. And while she's there, she ends up in this, like, in the middle of this, like, battle for the crown. There's several unseelie princes who are not kind to each other. So at the beginning, that's kind of they're all fighting for that crown, and she's just, like, caught in the middle of this, like, storm. And it does go further than that. So, but I can't get the spoilers away. But it's a lot of political intrigue. I was really excited to write something like that because my first series was very like quest driven. They were like after these ancient lost relics, fighting the big bad. But this one, I wanted there to be a little bit like, I really love the show Rain. Yeah. So I was like, I really want to write something like everyone's kind of like playing against one another,
Yeah,
and
that in the darker fantasy, the Game of Thrones, where everybody's like playing with each other, and it's not a quest thing, it's who's going to end up top dog.
Yes, exactly. And so I really wanted a lot of that. There's a lot of like family structure struggles going on there because they're not great to each other. And she's, even though she's like a stranger to this, she's very much like caught up in the middle of it and can't escape it. So the crown plays a big, it's like always looming over them. Like it's impacting everything. Who gets the crown? Who wants the crown?
I like it. Yeah, no, it's always interesting to me if people, especially the covers that don't have figures on them, of why do you choose that? Why do you think that image represents and does justice to your book? So that's pretty cool. And I do these questions of the day on this platform in the book talk, and they always are bookish questions. And I'm pretty sure I recently asked one about, can you name a book with a crown on the cover?
No way.
So there you go. So, some answers are right there. But I love that. I love that. Well, since we're rounding the end of the hour, is there anything that you would like to tell potential readers about yourself, your work, your writing, that you want to just be like, hey, about me, here's a fun fact? I don't know. What would you like to let people know about you and make sure they take good note?
Oh, I don't know. Um, I don't
For
know.
anybody who jumped in halfway, it is almost her book anniversary from first publishing. So
Yes,
1 year
yeah,
in and almost 6 books. That's fantastic.
yeah. I
Mind
will
boggling.
just say that I don't plan on slowing down. So there will be a lot more to come. I am really excited. I don't want to share too much about the next book that I'm working on. But it is going to be like a little bit Romeo and Juliet inspired.
Hey,
So for my
graphic work.
romantic readers out there, I'm like going to give you the ultimate romantic fantasy. So stay tuned.
That is so much fun. Well, thank you so much for coming out today and chatting. And, maybe in, a few more months when you have another 6 out. Oh my goodness. If you want to ever jump back in and do another one of these down the line, feel free to just reach out. But
Yeah,
thank you for coming out. This is fun. And I like your display in the background because I don't have a good display area. I just have my poster.
Well, I got this thing for free from Facebook Marketplace. It's like it's one of those like the big hutch that you're supposed
What?
to
Oh
pour
my.
like dishes in. And I was like, no way, this is a bookshelf. And my husband told me to stop stacking all my heavy books up top because it's glass. He's like, that is gonna bust.
Oh no.
So I like cleaned it. It used to be yellow. I painted it. And then I even did like themed shelves. So I have like a Harry Potter shelf in the middle here and like Jane Austen style, like Pride and Prejudice up above. So yeah, I love crafting. So I'm like, if I can make it bookish, then it's perfect.
I love it. No, I need a bigger house. So then I have bigger bookshelves so then I can do cool things on my bookshelves. Right now, I just have some of my I'm looking at one of them. Some of my bookshelves are kind of starting to bow because I'm just stacking them and fitting as many books on them as possible. There's no rhyme. Well, there is rhyme or reason, but just because I definitely like print. I just can't get into the ebook personally. That's just a personal thing. And I love print and I have way too many. People tell me. I don't think so. I just think I need a bigger bookshelf.
That's what I'm saying. Just need but I probably should get a normal or have like he needs to put like wood shelves so I can stack more.
Yeah,
on there. But I too have a very small house right now. We're in New England, so it's like a little cottage style.
Cute though.
But we're moving in May to North Carolina. So we'll finally have more space again, and I can have an actual office because right now I'm at my dining room table.
I understand that. Like when I finally started claiming office space, I'm like, I must not give it back. Even though it's funny because like I live in an apartment, so my office is my office / overflow living room furniture and our backup baby fridge. So it's not a true 100% office, and that is the dream. I want my office room where I can actually truly adorn it the way I want and bookshelves.
Yeah, I've been collecting all sorts of like decorations, like the I don't know if you follow the Bookish Babes shop.
Sounds like, no, I don't think so.
She does beautiful art and stuff for like bookish merch. And I bought these really pretty prints from her of like my favorite tropes. So we have like enemies to lovers, lost royalty, and like all these different tropes. I want to get really fancy frames and hang them up. So I have stuff like stacking up that I've been collecting for like a year, waiting for the day that we get to move and and I get an office. So
I love it. Yeah, the funny thing is, I guess I could have added a few more shelves, but my office, because I write about Vikings and stuff, I incorporate with different. I call it my armory, so I have like.
I love it.
Starting to collect, and I still have others that I need to like hang up, and I have like on top of one shelf like helmets and everything, and I'm just like, I mean, it still is part of my writing vibe. That goes into the Viking part of my fantasy, so it still fits the theme. But yes, bookshelves are important. But yeah, thank you for coming out and chit-chatting today, and I hope your next release does fantastic. Before you said it's coming out next month, you said?
December, second week of December.
Okay.
The third book.
Well, it's almost December, it feels like. October is slipping by real quick.
I know.
But, well, good luck on your upcoming release, and hopefully we'll get a chat again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.